For another, the game actually runs 2% too fast. So conveniently, it is a uniform 2% too fast. It's not like it skips some lag frames or something like that compared to actual hardware. Essentially, the Super Game Boy has a Game Boy in the cartridge, and then you load a Game Boy cartridge into the Super Game Boy cartridge into the SNES. And the whole thing runs a little bit too fast because the SNES's frame rate is a little bit faster than the Game Boy. But all that aside, it's still a great game here. This is one of few games I would point to on the Game Boy where I can say this is just legitimately straight up a good game. I don't have to qualify it with for the era or for the system or whatever. So here I am going to be doing an action RPG, and I'm going to be playing as a mage. I'm also going to be doing the Warpless category. There is at any percent where you just kind of go out of bounds, walk to the final area, get the best weapon, farm for a while so you're strong enough to beat the final boss, and that's it. We are actually going to go through the whole story here. And I am going to be playing with magic as my primary damage output. This is pretty different from most people's casual playthrough of this game. Kind of depends on going through the game in kind of a brinksmanship sort of fashion so that I can frequently get level ups at opportune times to refill my MP. I'll talk a little bit more about that once I actually have magic, but at the start I won't even. So I'm going to go ahead and get things started. The timer will begin when I press start here. So go ahead and begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, now. So this game here, one way to describe it, and there's a lot of ways to do so, but one way to describe it is this is Squaresoft wishing it had made Zelda, right? There's a lot of similarities between this game and Zelda 1 in particular, and I would describe this game as NES hard in general. The odds are quite good that at some point during this run I'm going to die. Thankfully, though, since this is a mobile game, you know, Game Boy portable at least, at any point I can just press select and A a couple times and I immediately save. So that will keep things... As long as I understand whether I'm in danger or not, I can just drop a safety save anywhere. It takes like 2 seconds, no big deal. So here's Willy. He's our best friend. He's dead. This game is pretty dark, and it starts with it right from the get-go. Willy, unfortunately, did not do as well in the Colosseum battles that we're stuck in as we are doing here, and I get a second instance of the same boss. You may have noticed I attacked the explosion of the previous boss. That actually transfers some damage into this version of the boss, and I actually screwed up this particular instance of it. Whatever. It's not a long fight, so... The main irritation there is actually just losing 3 additional HP for taking 1 additional hit. Whatever. The first area is not too hard, so I'm not worried about it. Anyway, we now get to spy on Dark Lord and Julius. The evil empire that we are stuck in right now and about to escape from is run by Dark Lord on the left, and his right-hand man, just on the right, is Julius. He's a mage, and the other dude's a knight, and we'll have to beat them over the course of the game. But for now, we have to establish a Mana Series tradition by getting punted off of a waterfall. And, okay, now we are through with the initial part of a Mana Series game. This is just what you do. Anywho, once at the bottom of the waterfall, the game opens up. We are in an initial area, and we need to figure out what mana is, why it's in danger, and what we can do about it. Willy was really insistent that we get on that. So there are some basic enemies around here, and I am going to go out of my way to kill a whole bunch of them. The darker enemies will take 2 hits for me to kill. They are worth 3 gold and 1 experience. I am actually very close to dead here. I'm going to start doing safety saves already. Normally this early in the game I would say, well, if I die, I just take a reset, whatever, it's no big deal. But in this circumstance, I will go ahead and be a little safer. That dagger would kill me. The daggers are significantly... Oh, wow. Just camping on the treasure chest, huh? Okay, well, this has been a not great start, but hey, marathon run, if I get all the bad luck out of the way at start, then that's good. What's less good is that I just took a wisdom level instead of a stamina level, which is supposed to be my first level. Well, we'll get the jitters out of the way in just a little bit. It is fine because I'm going to be getting multiple levels in the early game here. The only case where this wouldn't be fine is if I actually died during the grind here, which really shouldn't happen. You get 1 point of stamina whether you ask for it or not. If I get the actual stamina level, then I get 2 points of stamina, 1 point in power. And the power does mean slightly more attack power, but it's not enough to actually change how many hits it takes me to kill the enemies at this point in the game. So anyway, I do want to get that 1 stamina level up so that I can stay alive a little bit better in a little bit. So the reason I'm killing so many enemies here is not just to get levels. I mean, at this phase of the game, the experience I'm gaining from these enemies is way less than what I'll be doing later. What I really want is to do a glitch where I'm going to cause a helmet, the one I'm wearing right now actually, to have way more defense power than it should. And I need 140 gold in order to make that happen. And if I full clear a room, then enemies will not reappear when I go back into it, unless I reset the game like this. Sorry, not LR. I'm thinking Secret of Mana there. AB select start will immediately reset. And let me double check this is correct. Yes. Okay. That's not a stat spread I'm used to seeing, but that's just because I leveled up in a different order than usual. So just one more enemy kill here will get me the 140 gold that I require. And here we go. I'm seeing a lot of chat about versions of this game. There is a Game Boy game that I did not mention previously in my list of many versions of this game. It is very, very different from this one. I describe it as a game that incidentally features the same characters and locations. Anyway, I'm going to equip that iron helmet, put this bronze helmet over here, save the game, restart, and then equip that helmet. And now I have 9 more defense power than I should. What happened? Well, as it turns out, the game has an initialization glitch where when it's going through your defensive equipment inventory, it assumes it's done doing what it needs to do once it finds the first empty spot in the inventory, as if the inventory had to be a, compact list all the time. So by just shifting this helmet over, I caused that helmet to be, as a result of the particular garbage data that was in the spot at the time, it's about as powerful as the silver helmet, which is the next upgrade up from the upgrade that I purchased and then immediately resold. I did not need to go back to that kill. There's no reason for me to do that. Okay, we're now into the next enemy set. You'll recognize some Ray-bites from the Mana series. They are adorable, and they are one hit from dead at all times. And these imps are pretty annoying. They've been getting slightly more in my way than normal, but not like disastrously so. The big problem with the imps is they have a trident they can throw that is actually enough damage that it gets through my defense power. If I take damage from something that has less attack than my defense, then I take just 1 point in damage and no big deal on that front. The spears, the trident-like things that they throw, those actually pierce my defense somewhat. I take like 6 damage or so. So here's Bogard. He's an old dude. Incidentally, he is the person that Willie wanted us to find. He's a Geminite, and turns out he's too old for this kind of thing, as they say. So I am going to take his advice and grab a mattock and go escort this girl around. This girl is wearing a pendant that turned out to be important the last time that an evil empire was trying to conquer the world with the power of mana, so it's probably important this time too. And as it turns out, another person involved in that previous conflict was Siba in the Temple of Mana in Wendel. So we need to go there, but there's a bunch of stuff in the way. Enemies are being pretty convenient now. Not succeeding in any of my in iframe pass-throughs, though. One thing you're seeing me attempt and not succeed at so far is just attacking an enemy in order to cause it to have iframes so I can walk through it. It works a little better there. There are some issues with it. If an enemy changes, yeah, like there, if it changes its movement pattern, it loses its iframes immediately and can thereby start damaging you again immediately. I'm now going into the Marsh, and I'm going to go ahead and save before trying to traverse here. The enemies don't deal me meaningful damage directly, but they do inflict poison. Thankfully, I have a girl following me around who knows regen. Every party member that you recruit has an ask command, something special they do if you use the ask command in the menu. And for the girl, it's essentially the opposite of poison. It lasts, I think, 2 ticks longer than poison itself does, so if you ever get poisoned, that should keep you safe. So now, we are blocked by some terrain from getting to Wendel, so we're going to take a rest in this not at all shady inn in the middle of the marsh here. And she gives us our first bit of magic. I have noted that I'm going to be playing this game as a mage. You may have noticed I haven't cast any magic yet. That's because I didn't have any yet. Now I do. So the cure spell, because I'm going to be building so much wisdom, is for most of the game just going to 100% heal me from 1 HP to full HP. By the end of the game, that won't quite be the case, but it'll be close to it for most of it. Whatever. Okay, yeah. Still having a bit of difficulty getting past some of these enemies. There we go. That's a proper pass-through with iframes from the enemy there. I will take a hit here, but I positioned myself near the wall, so it wound up being okay. This is as many of the lizard men as it can spawn, unfortunately. These lizard men committed the crime of possessing a key I want, and I'm in a video game, so if they have a thing I need, then they must die. Yeah, they have the key to the cellar that has the mirror. You know what, I'm gonna go ahead and grab this cure potion. It's not needed, but it's sometimes handy. So this is the phase of the game where me having no physical attack is the worst, because I don't yet have any upgrade to my attack power. I haven't gotten the battle axe. I passed the shop that sells it, but I didn't have the cash for it just yet because I invested in the glitched helmet instead. Here's a dude that will join my party if I ask him to. Problem is, he talks very slowly. One curious version difference here is that in the US version, not only is there more text that has to be displayed, as is often the case with JRPGs of the era, but on top of that, the text for most people that talk in this game just displays much, much slower than in the Japanese version. I don't know why this is, but it is really hard not to notice. There's one character near the end of the game that talks at the quote-unquote proper speed, and everyone else is just really slow. So I really want to avoid talking with any NPCs, which is a harder thing to avoid than you might think. This game's method for talking with an NPC is simply colliding with them. So that's pretty annoying. Oh, hey, Mattock, that's nice. 60 gold I won't have to spend later. I now have a real weapon, by the way. I picked up a sickle. I need it in order to clear some ivy stuff. And for now, it is by far more powerful than my other weapon option, the broadsword. So I will actually go out of my way not to talk to this guy. He is actually pretty helpful if he is in your party. He gives you... I do at this point have to cure again. He slings a bunch of fireballs, which will usually give you some free kills on enemies. Which is certainly appreciated. If I can avoid it, I don't want to get another level up before my next... that roper is just going to be a pain. Okay, this is good. Should be able to swap back to the Mattock here. I have kind of one more Mattock swing available in this dungeon that I can either use or not use, and that group of boulders is usually where I do it. Essentially, Mattocks are just bombs from the Zelda series adapted to this game. Got a damage boost there that kind of worked out. Yeah, that red mage is totally trustworthy. Definitely. If you have the battle axe, you can use it to clear these ramble things. This is the first key-locked door. There's a lot of doors that require you to expend I don't know if it's supposed to be a magical key or just a skeleton key that's so frail it'll fall apart after you use it 4 times, but regardless, there's a whole bunch of doors throughout the game that you have to use that for. Something I always found strange about this dungeon here is that the big reward for going through an optional section of the dungeon is a shield, and shield's functions in this game is not to give you defense power directly. Instead, shields give you protection against more types of projectiles. But the boss for this area, this guy here, his fireballs can be blocked with your default shield. You don't need to get the upgraded one. You'll see in this boss fight, I am frequently swinging my weapon more than I quote-unquote need to. You can extend your iframes by attacking. Essentially, anything that you're doing that isn't walking causes your iframes to keep moving along. So we're through the Marsh cave now. And I do, unfortunately, have to make a bit of a detour, and that little gloop thing got in my way, but I need to detour back to the item shop I skipped before, because now I have the cash to pick up this battle axe. I'll go ahead and do that. I'll also sell some junk that's now in my inventory. That bronze key I never need again, and the broadsword is kind of useless, so it's gone too. I like the sickle's attack. Unfortunately, it does kind of take a while. The axe that I picked up will chop down trees later, which is awfully convenient. And it also... hey, that's fine, that's fine. Usually I get this level up a little bit after where I am now. Like, usually it's from killing the upcoming mini-boss. And speaking of killing the upcoming mini-boss, I'm going to pick up this axe and just hold it for a bit. As it turns out, in this... Oh, no, I need to do the mirror first. In this game, and this is something I found out only recently, enemies, from whenever you deal magic damage to enemies, they're supposed to take bonus damage from whatever they have an elemental weakness to. Unfortunately, for the elemental weakness part of the damage calculation, it checks the weapon you're holding, not the element of the spell that you slung. So, by simply holding the axe, I can do bonus damage to enemies that are considered... Oh, whoops. I actually destroyed my own fireball there. I can do bonus damage to enemies that are considered beast-type enemies, such as the werewolf that mirror revealed the butler was. Alright, let's go ahead and pick up this mattock and chop through this rather obvious destructible wall. The mice aren't worth that much experience and gold to kill, but they can inflict poison, so generally speaking, I want to get rid of them. The zombies are worth a lot to kill, and their treasure chests are pretty high value as well. It's either an ether, which is 8 MP, which, as a mage, that's a really big piece of safety. The scariest thing that can happen in this run is me running out of MP and not having a clear way to get a level up in order to restore my MP. If you haven't noticed yet, the basic strategy of this run is to gain a level up by burning through an amount of MP that is less than my max MP. And then that gives me a replenish on my MP, and I get to keep burning more enemies. Just rinse and repeat until we're through. Cute little trick here. I'm going to grab the chain, and this is supposed to be a tutorial puzzle for the chain, where I use it to attach to that post and hop out of the box. But if I just reload my save, the state of the puzzle is not saved in the file, so yeah, we're fine. The spikes right now would exactly kill me. It is 2 points of damage per level, and I'm level 6, I think, is how the math works, if my memory serves. There we go. Another wall here. There's actually other ways to get through this immediate section here. Oh, hey, the pumpkin from the previous screen gave me a damage boost. Nice. So I can attack this chest in order to scoot it across the button, and that actually counts. So that's nice. Whenever I'm trying to go up and down stairs or into and out of cave entrances and that sort of thing, I need to not be flashing from damage. So if you see me derping around a entrance or a button or something for a little bit after I've taken a hit, that's what's going on there. I'm waiting for my own iframes to go away so I can interact with stuff again. Oh, that's pretty unpleasant. Yeah, I kind of saw that coming. Just swarmed by the mice. There was no way that wasn't going to happen. Give me Wisdom Crystal. Nope. Oh well. Wisdom Crystal is a temporary buff item. It gives plus 15. Gives you plus 15 to your Wisdom stat. There we go. But only for a temporary period of time, then it fades out. Still useful for the early game battles. Each level up, I'm getting 2 points of wisdom, so put that in perspective in terms of how much additional damage I get to deal if I get one of those. But it is a 50-50 chance on every 1 in 8 chance that there's going to be a chest at all, so... speaking of chests, I'm also preferentially targeting the owls rather than the pumpkins, because the owls might drop crystals, which are worth 500 gold when sold. Or if I don't need the cash, I can use one in order to instantly fill my will meter, which incidentally is a thing I'm trying to fill right now. And every time you attack, you expend the bar at the bottom of the screen to deal bonus damage based off of how full that bar is. And if it's all the way full, your magic specifically does quadruple damage. Physical attacks are double, magic is quadruple. So this first fireball is really doing a lot of damage to Lee compared to what it quote-unquote should. So I've got kind of a pattern here. I suppose it's appropriate that I am attacking this vampire with a chain weapon. I do think Squaresoft knew what they were doing on that one, what they were making reference to. And I just got the Book of Sleep. You would think that would teach me the sleep spell, but no, it teaches me Slep. We'll occasionally see that later on in the game, but for the most part, usually normal enemies aren't worth slepping. And the boss enemies, the ones that are essentially just big moving background tiles, those enemies are generally not vulnerable to it. Anyway, I get to use the sickle. I hope you enjoyed seeing the sickle, because you're not going to see that again for quite some time. Okay. The chain is a bit more powerful than the sickle. Ah, crap. Okay, well, I got through. No more poison yet. Kinda low on resources here. I'm going to do a safety save. There is a tiny chance that the next room's enemies could hit me with a trident before I notice what's going on. I'm gonna see if that's gold. Nope, of course it's candy. That can potentially be a bag of gold, which sells for 750 gold, which is comical. Right now I'm holding the axe again. These, I don't know if they're supposed to be moblins or what they are, but in any case, they take bonus damage from the axe, so holding it ensures that I one-shot them instead of needing... Usually I would need like a 2/3 full will meter to guarantee one shot with a fireball on those enemies at this time. Candy's worth 8 HP. At this point in the game, it's kind of useless, but it's a 50-50 chance between candy and gold, and the expectation value is, 350 gold in the bank. If I get a gold bag drop, it means I don't have to farm spiders in the upcoming cave. And the spiders just aren't very efficient farming targets, so it's nice if I get to skip that. Anyway, we're now with Siba in the Tower of Mana, and he invokes the image of the person who is the mana tree, which is the goddess of the world, essentially. And it turns out this is the mother of the girl that we've been escorting. So it is super important that we have been keeping her safe and not getting kidnapped by Julius, who is hunting her down and is a mage from Empire Glaive and is trying to kidnap the girl and just ran out the door with her. Okay, we're doing great. So that was the dude that helped you out in the... was supposed to help us out in the Marsh Cave, but we actually turned him down just because he talks too slowly in this version of the game. And it turns out he's Julius, so he's way the heck stronger than we are right now. He's like level 50 or something. We're level 7? 8? I don't know. Something around there. Okay. So, we're not going to beat Julius here, but thankfully that damage happened during a plot event, so no actual HP damage, we're fine. And now Siba gives us the heal spell. Heal, the primary function of that spell is to set your defense power to 0 until the next time you pause the game. That's not what it's supposed to do, but most casual plays through this game that unexpectedly die because of that glitch. When you cast the heal spell, or do anything else that has the ability to change your sprite, your defense power is set to 0 until the next time something happens that causes the game to recalculate your stats. So now that you know that, you can play through this game much, much, much more safely than you otherwise could. Okay. So yes, okay, good drop luck here. I did get my bag of gold I wanted, and I also just got 1 nectar. Nectar increases your strength for 15 for a duration. The exact duration is affected by glitches, but long and short of it is I get to do physical damage, which is not normally a thing I can do, in a couple cases where that winds up being important. Anyway, I do actually want to sell this useless pure thing, want to sell the useless candy, I want to sell the big sack of gold I found, and now I'm going to stock up on 2 Mathawks and 4 key rings, and that is all of the Maddox and key rings I need for the entire rest of the game taken care of. So, don't have to worry about that anymore. You don't get the rewards for killing enemies until their explosion completely disappears. So at this point, thanks to the bag of gold, I already have enough cash to buy... That one was just blocking my path. I already have enough cash to purchase the silver armor, which is a thing I need to get in order to pass through the cave called Gaia, which is currently blocking... You know what? Candy's not bad here. That's enough HP to where I don't have to be afraid in this spot. Save... oil... And let's go in here. So this is the minecart ride in the Silver Cave. Being poisoned sucks, but I can swing my weapon in order to deny poison damage, because that works in this game, because I don't know why, it just does. So I'm going to do something silly here, just because I recently found out I can. And I want to show it off. Whee! Okay. You'll see a more practical use of that glitch a little bit later in the run. So now I'm at the bottom of this cave here, and I meet Watts, the dwarf. Watts is very interesting. As I've previously mentioned, you can do a special command with all of your various NPCs that join your party. Watts opens up a shop right then and there in the middle of the dungeon. He just gave me a level up. His axes are pretty good, too. He actually kills things around here. So I don't really need to farm anything around here, but Watts is farming them for me and then handing the gold to me. I am not complaining. Oh wait, I actually have a fully charged will meter, so I can... Okay, there we go. 1 Watts axe across this bridge kills all the enemies. Otherwise, it's actually kind of awkward for me to deal with them. Switching to the chain is actually pretty effective if I really need to do it, but I need the axe when I leave this dungeon later, so I'd rather not deal with that if I can avoid it. The spiders can inflict poison, and the silk they throw hits pretty hard, so I do have to respect them to some degree. And I want to have a full wheel meter for my first shot of the upcoming fight. Since I'm on a marathon run, I'll go ahead and save. I'm not really in any danger here. Famous last words. But here's Megapede. Remember his movement pattern. We will meet a enemy called Lich later, who is actually going to move in exactly the same pattern. The programmers were clever in a couple ways like that. Anyway, thankfully his motion is not in any way random, so I need to hit his head, but I can just memorize the direction I need to fire and from which spot each time to make sure that they land. Kind of the only thing that can go wrong is if Watts throws an axe, which is less damage than my fireball, at a time that gives it iframes against my axe. Cute little trick I just did there. You can hit a tree that is down and to the left of your current position by aiming upward, but not downward, just because of the asymmetry of how the axe swing works. So that is what I did there. I am loaded with cash right now. I wound up getting a lot of money from that cave, even though I wasn't really trying to. So if I really wanted to, I could buy the silver shield. I don't think there's any reason for me to do that, but the route would continue working just fine if I did. The bronze armor there... Sorry, the silver armor that I purchased to replace the bronze armor. It is one of 2 acceptable items for getting through Gaia. Gaia is a cave that is alive. I said that weird. It is alive. And... it insists that anyone that crosses through it be wearing mithril. It prefers the taste of mithril over other tastes of metals. So bronze armor is unacceptable, has to be silver, or if you're holding the silver sword, that's acceptable too. I guess you like just brush the silver sword on the ground as you're going through it or something. Anyway, we're now on the other side of Gaia, and here's Bogard. He's caught up with us. He is easily the least useful party member. His attacks are almost point-blank range, which is actually maybe a good thing because his attacks are weak. Those werewolves I just killed are the same enemy as the mini-boss I fought earlier. And they are quite a bit of experience. I think it's 40 experience, 40 gold, plus or minus some randomness. Which is about the same as the pebblers or mole bears or whatever these things are here. So this is a pretty big jump up in experience gained per kill, which is nice. The Shahagins here are kind of useless, unfortunately. If I had a crystal, this is where I would use it. I'm killing the enemies first just so they don't interrupt me while I'm trying to get across. The chain goes 1 tile further if your will meter is completely filled when you use it. The crystal item immediately fills that will meter, so if you have it, it'll save you like 10-ish seconds. It's not more because I would wind up having to menu back to the fire spell again afterwards, so that's a little inconvenient, but still, overall, pretty good benefit. So now we're going to get to the airship, which I guess really took quite a long time to get itself ready to launch. Because it's just, to my understanding, it's just been chilling here the whole time I did the Silver Cave nonsense, and got through Gaia and all that stuff. But now we're in the airship, which is larger than most towns, I'd like to point out. These I Spy enemies, they're not worth as much experience and gold as I'd like, but they are actually kind of dangerous. They don't move, but they shoot these rings that will inflict the Moogle status effect, which causes an awesome theme to play, and that's nice, but it also sets your defense power to 0 and makes you unable to take actions for a while. There is an item in the game called the Moogle Potion, which the purpose of that potion is to cure the Moogle status effect. One of the effects of the Moogle status effect is to cause you to be unable to use the Moogle Potion. Someone in QA dropped the ball on that one. Which, I mean, this is a Squaresoft game, let's be real, that's kind of par for the course. It's the last key from our first key ring. We've got several more after this. So here's the girl. Unfortunately, there is a rare door that can't be opened by a skeleton key here. So I will have to go around to the other side in order to get her from the window, is our game plan. Now, that's not going to turn out to work out very well, but it will at least get the plot to advance. By the way, NPCs are coded in the game very similarly to enemies, and you can swat them away with your weapon, with a couple exceptions. Some NPCs are invincible, but for the most part, if they are in your way, you can often fix the issue by attacking them. The ghosts are worth a lot of experience. It's actually pretty nice. More than 50 is my recollection, although the exact number eludes me. More I Spy. Oh, wow! That fireball target was pretty inconvenient. Your fireball will intercept projectiles, and I was kind of expecting it to protect me from that ring there. Good thing I was paying attention, because if I was snoozing at the wheel there, I would have been... Okay. Right now, our maximum HP is low enough that one of the enemies in the next dungeon could one-shot me from full HP if I got bad damage rolls. So I would like one more level before dealing with that boss. The werewolves here are kind of interesting in that anytime you encounter a room with werewolves, it's always 4 of them in a vertical column at that orientation relative to the position of the screen. The game uses it for some puzzle-ish rooms to have them in that layout, and that's just the only way it's allowed to spawn them. So, turns out, trying to rescue the girl from the outside didn't work out. We just got knocked off from our perch and fell into Menos. And, oh, hey, here's Amanda. She's one of our friends from back in the Colosseum. She also escaped. Unfortunately, she's in a spot of trouble and wound up stealing the pendant that we just were given by the girl for safekeeping. We didn't do a good job on that one. Amanda made off with it while we were still unconscious. So we need to find out why our friend stole the pendant from us. So we'll need to catch up with her and hopefully get the pendant back, although it'll take us a while before that happens. That was actually a little dangerous. I'm gonna save before I continue through this desert. It is pretty rare, but the scorpions do have a stinger attack that I think would have killed me at my current HP, so a little irresponsible by me on that front. So, I just solved a rather peculiar puzzle, and I just skipped 2 sections of the game. I'm supposed to pick up the chocobo in the Menos area. The game doesn't do anything to force that. I was also supposed to go to Jad in order to get the hint necessary to make this cave entrance appear. The hint the game gives you is bizarre. Oasis and 8, get it? Is my recollection for the text. I cannot kill the biting lizard enemies with my fireballs. They are immune to that. Occasionally, Amanda will kill them. So at this point, I will survive a Shadow Zero hit. You'll notice the Shadow Zeros are way stronger than everything else around here. They will take 2 hits to kill unless my will meter's almost 100% filled. That flame item will cast the fire spell at a slightly more powerful strength than the actual fire spell, so occasionally it'll become relevant, but usually I don't care about it. So I will usually be running away from the Shadow Zeros. That 1 point of damage I took is enough that the a absolute worst case damage roll would kill me. Those Shadow Zeros are way stronger than anything else in this area. Amanda actually killed one of the biting lizards, but I didn't expect it, so I didn't wait long enough for the experience and gold credit. What I think is the worst part of the palm tree and 8 hint is that in order to draw the figure 8, you have to start in the middle. If you start on the top or the bottom, which I don't know if this is like a cultural difference, but at least around where I am, the expectation is if you're drawing an 8, you start at the top and then kind of do 2 curly Q loops as you go down. Yeah, that's not going to work. This is the first ice puzzle room. These are consistently the worst rooms in the game. You'll notice I solved the puzzle and didn't get credit for it. That just happens. Every once in a while, this game just has lag frames, and if you get a lag frame at a time when... Oh, Amanda's totally gonna kill this. Okay, got through. If a lag frame happens when you're snapping the snowman onto the button you need to press for the ice room, then too bad. You just don't get credit for the puzzle. Amanda stole the kill, for whatever that's worth. Okay. On to the Medusa fight. I guess I should talk about why we're killing a Medusa in the first place. Amanda stole the pendant from us in order to pay the ransom for her brother, who was kidnapped by one of the Dark Lord's henchmen, not his right-hand man, but I guess his left-hand man, perhaps, Davius. Davius did give her brother back, but unfortunately, Amanda fell for the most classic ransom gotcha ever. She failed to specify whether she wanted her brother back as a parrot or not. So, he's a parrot now, and so now she needs something to uncurse him, and it turns out the tears of a Medusa are what you turn to uncurse someone that's been turned into a parrot. Unfortunately, this Medusa was a Madusa when we were killing it, and did not cry one bit even as we were killing it, so... unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your outlook, Amanda got bitten by the Medusa, and so now she's turning into one herself, which means that at the moment she still has her emotions and can cry as you kill her and take her tears to save her brother. This game is dark. Have I mentioned that yet? Oh... Those things actually hit pretty hard. I want to say 30 damage. This game will put enemies right next to you as you enter a room. It is not kind on that front. Do I need to go up first? Yeah, I need to go up first. Lost track of where I was. Surprise, surprise, a lot of the rooms in the desert kind of look similar. Okay. I've been doing some routing theory crafting lately where I'm not sure I actually need to purchase this set of upgrades here. I may be able to just ditch this particular shopping trip, but for the purpose of a speedrun, I'm not going to throw too much of a monkey wrench into my previous planning. Just seems like a bad decision. Yes, I believe my brother, when he was playing through this game, did happen to get a level up. I think it's just 2 experience you get for killing her. She is a monster, as far as the game's coding is concerned. So anyway, here's the Tears of Amanda, and Lester now, of course, wants to exact vengeance upon Davius. So before we can move on with the rest of the game, we do have to deal with that. Lester is a bard. He's got a bow and arrows. And as a bard, he's got a mystic tune. He also has a very peculiar ask command, where he can just change the music. He is a bard, after all. That's what a bard does. Doesn't change your stats. There's no auras associated with it. It's just, you know, a different song playing. Okay, this room kind of sucks, so I'm going to save. These black mages, I can't touch them. They are immune to fire, and we've reached the phase of the game where modern enemies, like enemies that I'm supposed to be fighting in the current dungeon, enemies I'm encountering for the first time in the current dungeon, I guess I should word it that way. They no longer take any damage at all from my physical attacks. Their defense power is good enough to just shrug it off, and you'll hear the tink tink sound effect that is kind of the standard Game Boy, hey, your attack didn't work sound. There we go. If there's a projectile coming your way and you're not sure what to do with it, one option, aside from turning into a Moogle, is to save the game and just reload. And when you reload, it probably won't be there. This room is not usually this bad, by the way. There are other rooms in this dungeon that are usually far worse. When you are a Moogle, your defense power is set to 0, which is pretty bad. I didn't think that was going to kill me. Okay, apparently gargoyles hit a little harder than I remember. My recollection was that the fireballs were the scary enemies of the set. Did I actually equip my stuff? I did, okay. I think I have forgotten a key detail. I think I actually need to pause the game after being Moogled, or else my defense power is 0. That would explain this, and I don't remember that being a mechanic, but it does seem consistent with a lot of the other crap in this game. Well, I mean, this is a marathon run, so I'm gonna lose time somewhere, and I think that's a fine place to do it. Running low on MP thanks to all that nonsense. I do have a couple ethers to fall back on, plus I was expecting I'm close to a level, so we're good. The gargoyles are annoying to kill with fire, that's why you haven't seen me really going for that very much. The problem is that they have a directional shield, and as they do their, like, jiggling animation and their, like, leg kicking animation and all that weird stuff, the direction of their shield keeps changing. Wisdom Crystal, I guess I can use that on Cyclops? It's a bit late in the game for that to be as exciting as if I got it earlier, but it's better to have it than not. Okay. This is a new strategy, by the way, for the Davius fight. Used to be I needed to spend a nectar here, but I found an alternate strategy that takes about the same amount of time. Okay, so I'm gonna heal, and then I'm going to cast Ice. Ice does not hurt Davius at all, whatsoever. Completely useless. Lester, on the other hand, has attacks, and as long as I'm steering this ice rocket around, my iframes will never go away. So yeah, I just wait for Lester to kill Davius. Usually it doesn't take that long, although he's kind of derping right now. Oh, by the way, the ice rock is the only thing you can do in the game that moves diagonally. I think it's the only sprite in the game that even has a diagonal-facing animation. Kind of weird that they decided to go with that, and I didn't even know this until I was speedrunning this game for like a year and a half or so. Alright, there we go. So Lester actually gets his revenge on Davius because, yeah. I guess I should give some context here. The reason I'm not using fire on Davius is that there's no safe way to hit him. Davius has this fire barrier, which is immune to fire, unsurprisingly. And thanks to Lester's arrows, sometimes Davius has iframes. And if he has iframes whenever I fire my fireball, I cannot immediately pause the game to heal. If you have any weapon on the screen, it's kind of Mega Man logic, where if your weapon's out, you cannot bring up the menu. I know later Mega Man games did away with that, but at least Mega Man 1 and 2 restricted you like that. I don't know why I did that. I know these enemies are not vulnerable to fire. I think I was getting too excited about the next enemy set and already wanted to start burning things. That is not the menu I was trying to do. I was trying to do this menu. There we go. These enemies are awesome. They die to a single fireball. They're weak to the axe if you want to kill them that way. And they drop incredible amounts of experience. It's like 90-ish? At least for the gorillas, I think. Which is a lot more than anything we've encountered thus far. And around half of what the endgame enemies do. So we're already really cruising in terms of being able to gain levels. Okay, so because I did wind up killing one of those, I am not going to have a full enough will meter to kill these dudes. These black wizards are just as annoying now as they were before. I need to pay close attention and save if needed. I think the metal crab would one-shot me at this point. That's not a likely occurrence. I can't get past this without either save and reloading or fireballing, unfortunately. Really? Oh well. If you get down to it, that is my fault. But still feels bad. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and use that flame. So Metal Crab is only vulnerable on his face, so it doesn't give me too many opportunities to hit him. Oh, whoops. And of course I miss my stronger fire. You'll see strategies like this a lot more in the future, where I'm waiting for a full will meter for each cycle of the boss's motion. I get one clear shot at hitting it. Unfortunately, thanks to the miss and thanks to the first shot not being charged, I do have one more hit after this I have to go through. I am not getting the right version of that shot correct here. I don't want to stand on the right side in order to fire directly, because when he transitions from being on the top to being on the bottom, he always dives diagonally down and right. So I really don't want to get hit by him. So that metal crab fight did not go well, but we're still doing fine. We are about to gain a heck of a lot of levels because we are back to that same wonderful just bag of experience and gold enemy set. These enemies don't move fast, they don't hit hard, they're just big bags of experience and that's it. The mole bears can at least inflict poison sometimes, or they can inflict darkness as well, depending on which attack they hit you with, their contact damage or their short-range little claw projectile thing. Okay, and now we have an enemy set I am much less appreciative of. Those springs are very difficult to deal with. They move very fast. They move diagonally because they are jumpers. And contact damage with them will inflict Moogle. Okay, we're past that one. Another problem with these spring enemies is that they're immune to fire, so as far as I'm concerned, they're invincible. Let's see if Slep gets me through here. Nope, that was a bad arrangement. So I'll just have to reload the room. Slep will sometimes get me through these spring rooms. It will not stop a jumping enemy in its tracks, but it will stop enemies from beginning a new movement. One drawback of Slep, however, is that it causes enemies that have projectiles to fire those projectiles continuously. Not entirely sure why that's how it works, but it's not terrible to deal with. More levels, I'm now much more powerful than I was before I defeated Davius. The gimmick of this cave here is that if you take a wrong turn, you wind up back at the beginning. This here is the last mandatory Mattock use. After this, the next boss has a Morning Star that he uses as a weapon, and that is the ability to use that weapon ourselves is the reward for completing that battle. Oh, right. I forgot the store's locked, so I do need to swap back. Probably shouldn't have bothered switching to fire just yet. Now I've got some things to kill, at least in a little bit. I am more powerful, but the fireballs from those mages are still something I have to take seriously. I think I'm pretty close to a level now, yeah. I can get like 1 or 2 enemy kills at this point, but I don't want to get any more than that. So healing before this fight's kind of pointless. I get one shot by this guy even from full HP. His attack is pretty insane. Oh, I almost forgot. This is actually the fight where I wanted to use the Wisdom Crystal. Still don't want to hit the Morning Star itself. It's invulnerable. If I can, I would like to hit his head rather than his feet. It's not a big deal, but the head does take a little more damage than his feet do. Here's my level up, so I get to replenish all of my MP once more. Holding the Morning Star causes me to deal bonus damage to these faces, so I no longer need to have a will meter that's filled at all to deal with them. So that's nice. Last key from this pack. Use the Nectar. Switch to Cure. And here we go. Nectar lets me deal 15 more damage per strike. For its duration. Nectar is supposed to end after a certain amount of time. As it turns out, the game never checks for that until you pause. So as long as I don't bring up the pause menu, my physical attacks at the moment are much more powerful than they should be. Not that I would generally want to go out of my way to really make use of that in most cases. Okay. We're now at Glaive Castle. You may recognize that little area from the very beginning of the game. We've now returned. Oh, now I'll go ahead and open that. The other chest there is also an X-Ether. Really don't need to, though. Here's some good old Raybites and Imps. My theory was always that they put those enemies there to be a reminder for the player, like, hey, remember how a Glaive attacked that one town with Raybites and Imps? Here they are, see? It's the same entity that you're fighting now. That kind of thing. Ah. Ghost was a bit of a troll. There is a small chance that a wizard could instant teleport onto the vine I'm climbing. It is not likely, but it could occur, and I think it is wise for me to save as a precaution. Okay, here is Chimera. This used to be a pretty annoying fight because I would have to periodically heal, because of the dive attacks, one of the two literally just cannot be dodged no matter what. Unless you, like, get... Oh, whoops, that was a big mistake by me right there. I am no longer lodged in the little corner. Well, here's hoping he doesn't do the other dive attack. He does a dive attack when he's in the middle, heading right. That is the one that cannot be avoided no matter where you're standing in the screen. That was not a level up, so I will have to dip into my ethers in order to get my next level. If I was on shorter supplies than I am, I would have waited for some of my shots to be fully charged, so they would be more MP efficient. Go ahead and use one of my ethers. This is as good a time as any to use the cure potion. And let's go. Gaining levels off of the Dark Knights here is kind of annoying. I cannot hurt these wizards. And the Dark Knights have a directional shield. And they turn pretty frequently, so even if it looks like I'm going to hit their backside, that's not always how that works out. I'm going to want to get one more level up over the course of this dungeon here. Really? Neither of those hit? I'm going to have to cure before I step onto these spikes. Did not mean to pick that up. It's fine that I did. Just was a little unexpected. So the Morning Star does the same stuff the Mattock does. In fact, if you really want to, you can avoid picking up the Mattock. You can avoid picking up the Morning Star at all by just flooding your inventory with Mattocks. Nope. Come on. Okay. It's not recommended in this version of the game, but that is actually the currently accepted standard speedrun strategy for Adventures of Mana, which is the quite faithful mobile platform remake of this game. It's very similar in style to the Secret of Mana remake, but for this game it kind of works, whereas with the Secret of Mana HD remake, quote-unquote, that one kind of felt underwhelming, I'll say. Not necessarily bad, but not what people wanted out of it. Anyway, I get to reset this puzzle. As long as I'm not pressing anything on the D-pad while the chest is scooting itself away, the game won't realize that I've removed a chest from a button, so I can still go through the stairs that were supposed to have gone disappeared because I had done that. The Morning Star is really strong, by the way. At this point, if I really have to kill an enemy with a physical attack, I don't want to, but I can. It'll take a bit, but the Morning Star is high enough damage output that I will take out enemies. Okay. Not trusting these wizards here. The Shadow Zeros still deal considerable damage. I guess I'll just have to tank my way through. It's not hideous damage, but it's enough that now I either have to take the time out to cure, which I'll go ahead and do that, or I have to play really scared around any wizards. Okay. Second worst room of the game. I'm gonna keep respawning the room until I have an arrangement I like. I need both the Dark Knights and the wizards to be in a workable position. That works for the top button, but now I need this guy to walk downward, which is a little awkward. While I'm waiting for that to happen, I'll go ahead and kill this wizard. It takes forever, but I can do it. Okay, that... Nope, nope. He was momentarily in a spot I could have worked with. You know what? I can actually use that chest. Okay, here's the strategy. I can't use the Morning Star because it'll kill the chest. Yeah, we're doing chest strats. I haven't actually done this before, but it works. Okay. We're through with the second worst room in the game. And now we're up to a boss that used to be a really big pain in the butt for the mage build to get through. But there has been new tech. Slep does not work on the Dark Lord. It does, however, work in rooms with no enemies. And then the Slep timer transfers to the next room, regardless of who's in there. Including, for example, the Dark Lord. So now the Dark Lord is asleep. Whoops, that was a silly error. So now that he has been slept one time, he will remain vulnerable to Slep for the rest of the battle, even though he is an enemy that's not supposed to be. The way that the game cleans up having been asleep, I guess, kind of overwrites what's supposed to be the indicator that you can't be put so. Theoretically, I can get 3 lits per round, but if any input drops at all while you're doing that, then he breaks out, and resetting after he's broken out, you can do it. It's just kind of a pain in the butt. Alright, so, we have just sleep-locked the Dark Lord into submission, and now we've beaten the final boss, right? Well, no, not so much. Turns out the evil henchman, Julius, is more powerful than the Dark Lord, or at least more clever, and is using his mind control magic to get El now to, reverse the waterfall so that they can get up to where the mana tree is. Mana tree has a lot of similarities with how the Triforce works in the Zelda series, where like if you touch it, then the rest of the world will match the heart of the person who touched it. So if an evil person like Julius does, then the world's in big trouble. So anyway, it's not great that this is happening, and we need to get up there to do something about it. But for now, we've got a reversing waterfall. Julius once again is convinced that there is fall damage in this game. He's gonna actually blast us really far away. We land in a desert somewhere. But again, 0 HP damage taken, because fall damage just does not exist. By the way, here's a chocobo. A chocobo was available to us to retrieve in the Menos area a lot earlier in the game. There's some theories that this is that same chocobo. I think it's a different one. I think Adventures of Mana gave some more reason to suspect that it was probably the same one, but either way, point is, this chocobo is going to get upgraded in a little bit. Okay. this here is this is the Geminite Bogart again, and we're complaining, hey, alright, isn't this supposed to be your job to save the world from all this mana stuff? And, well, he's not in good shape, so it's on us to do it, so we'll have to do that. I have enough gold right now for an armor upgrade, and I'm going to go ahead and grab it. I almost have enough gold to grab a upgrade to my weapon, but I don't use physical attacks, so why bother? Anyway, this flame armor here will protect me from fire elemental damage, so that is good. Specifically, projectiles that look like fireballs, I will take less damage from as long as I'm wearing that. And I'm going to reset this room to try to get that... Kid! That guy has like 5 text boxes worth of conversation, by the way. You really have to stay away from him. And the corridors you have to walk through in this town are awfully small, so pay attention while you're here. Chocobos do eat frames. As it turns out, if you have an ally following you around, the game lags more. And sometimes that actually causes glitches, and you can abuse that in the any % run in order to go out of bounds. Of course, they're talking about streaming, but both are true. Anyway, we now have the Chocobo, who's been upgraded by Dr. Bow Wow into being... Chocobot, or a Chocoboat is how I prefer to think of it, because he is now my mode of water transportation. So, the world opens up. I'm supposed to go on a wild goose chase to figure out what the heck I'm supposed to do next. As it turns out, I already know the next thing I need to do is get into this snowfield and unfreeze Lorim so I can get to Siba, who turns out is there and not in Wendel right now. I forgot to equip the battle axe last time I was in that menu. I could have done that and forgot to. Okay, coming up, major new-ish glitch for the route. There we go, that will do it. If I reload the game as I'm snapping onto the grid position that is supposed to strip the Chocobo away from me as I get into the snowfields, then the Chocobo just stays around. And oh, by the way, the cave entrance here, it doesn't think you're going to have the Chocobo here, so it doesn't have the check that most of the cave entrances do to remove the Chocobo from the party. So I just get to bring the Chocobo into the dungeon. The Chocobo is invincible and goes really fast, so this is awfully convenient. There are some limitations. The Chocobo cannot push buttons. The Chocobo cannot open doors, no opposable thumbs. And while I'm on the Chocobo, my will meter does not fill, which matters sometimes because there are a number of places here where I'm supposed to... there we go. Where I'm supposed to have a fully charged will meter in order to get the chain to reach far enough. So the net result of this is actually that I'm now finishing the game a few levels lower than I used to, because this dungeon is really long. So taking the Chocobo out of consideration here winds up taking out a lot of enemy kills that would have just incidentally happened along the way. Ice in this game behaves strangely. It is a conveyor belt. Each ice tile has a direction it's supposed to push you. However, if you are halfway between 2 ice tiles that go in different directions, then you just go straight as if it were a more normal ice sort of video game thing. Also, remember that minecart thing I did a little bit ago? You get 1/2 tile of motion in whichever direction you want whenever you reload a save game. So that allowed me to circumvent a couple of extra rooms worth of motion I was supposed to need to do there. There we go. Going smoothly so far. Okay, and through that segment. And see if I remember how to do this one without a fully charged cool meter. There we go. Able to snap onto that while I'm sliding. Okay. This room's kind of a pain. Okay, got it. I'll go ahead and burn this guy. The snowmen are worth quite a bit of experience, and as long as you have some sort of fire elemental weapon, they go down real fast. The Captain Ducks are actually the most dangerous enemies here, and yet they give the least experience for killing them. Okay, that's not what I meant to do. I meant to do this. Chain, I need to get across this ice flow. Hitting the chain posts on the side here is really annoying, and I very much appreciate that I don't have to do that anymore. I can just step off the ice that way. That deals with the problem. I don't think that's going to pose any danger to me, so I'm just going to ignore him. I am running awfully close on this. I'm going to shift downward half tile. Okay. He landed close to me, but not on me. We're good. Okay. Oh, really? Fine. Okay, here's the carry fight. I've got chocobo strats for this fight. Because why not? Okay, so here's carry. I have to hit the head, which makes some of the geometry of hitting carry quickly pretty awkward. I'm going to damage trade here. Hop on the chocobo because I'm in an awful position. Go here. Hop off the chocobo. Now we've got different boss music. Back to the overworld music. Essentially, anytime you get off the chocobo, it assumes that you're on the overworld, so the music is set accordingly. Now I have enough time to cure. Before I didn't because I needed to get a fully charged fireball again. And there we go. 3 more shots should kill carry here. Sometimes, based on damage rolls, I may need to land 1 more hit. Looks like this is such a case. That horizontal hit's kind of tricky, by the way. Okay. And we are through with the carry fight. Next destination is Elixir Island. Well, actually, first I need to get a bone, then I need to go to Elixir Island, but... Okay, I do need to be careful because the chocobo gets stripped from me here. It thinks it's removing the chocobo as I enter these snowfields. It's actually as I leave, but either way, if there's a snowman on top of that tile and I step on it with the chocobo, I die immediately. Once again, I'm going to aim upward as I swing my axe in order to chop 2 relevant trees at once. Okay. So now that I've defeated Carrie, I'm able to get through Lorim and meet with Siba, and he can give me a bone. The bone key, or I guess it's just a skull in some other versions. But in any case, it's what I need to get into the series of dungeons that will take me to the Mana Sword, which is presently just rusted over, but we'll deal with that later. Either way, it is going to be what I need in order to cause a tower to rise up into the air and take me to where the Glaive Castle is, and then I can chase after Julius. So that's kind of the trajectory we're taking. Okay. Along the way, I'm going to stop by a place I call Elixir Island. It's just an island in the middle of the ocean where if you kill all the enemies on the screen, then you are rewarded with an elixir. Thanks to my flame armor, I take like 0 damage from their projectiles. Unfortunately, that guy's kind of in a weird spot. Okay, there we go. Alright, there's 1 elixir. I will pick up a 2nd elixir on my way back from this area later. I could also save and reload and do it now and get both of them now. However, I only need 2 elixirs total, so I'd rather not do the extra save and reload. And more importantly, I only have 4 MP right now. If 3 enemies spawn, I don't have the MP to deal with that. Now I'm about to refill because this is a recovery pond. There's actually a lot of these throughout the game. If you see that particular type of bush, you should generally expect that it is a recovery pond in the area. One strange thing that can happen with that recovery pond, if you are on the chocobo and you walk into it, you actually walk through that particular NPC that operates the recovery. It's an invisible NPC there. And then if you hop off the chocobo, the NPC gets pushed off of you into the pond where you can't reach it. So you have to stop off the chocobo before you reach the pond, rather than on top of the place where you recover. Okay. I have no idea if Elixir Island is the official name of that place, but I certainly think the name fits. I will do frequent hops on and off of the chocobo here. Menuing to get on and off the chocobo takes a bit, and I do have to get through quite a kind of drift between them. Which is particularly weird considering that its animation makes it clear that it is continuously underwater. One of the better hidden walls here, if you go through the dungeon just blindly, you will hit a dead end and there's no clear path forward. Let's get Kraken. Specifically, let's kill the Kraken. I will be fully charging my fireballs for this fight. The way this works is I need to hit his head, not his tentacles. So after my will meter is full, I'm waiting for either one of the tentacles to decide not to go out at all, in which case I can definitely curve a fireball in, or right as it's starting to retract a tentacle on the left side, that's a good time for me to hit. Or right after it's decided to send out its left tentacle, that works too. Kind of annoying here. These turtles have directional shields, so it's not guaranteed that my fireball's going to hit. Not my fireball, my lit. Weird detail about lit I just demonstrated there. It's off-center downward compared to what the sprite looks like. The enemies in this dungeon, the earth elementals and the fire moths, they are worth as much experience effectively as anything else in this game. The difference between it and the highest experience reward enemy is like 10%. So at this point, I've kind of hit the pinnacle of experience gain. This is as good of a layout for this room as I can hope for. This is the worst room in the game. You may remember me complaining about the second worst room of the game earlier. Well, this is its cousin. It's another ice room with very awkward geometry. One interesting thing about it is that it's one of very, very few places in the game where you are given any reason at all to use the sickle. We're back? Okay. Alright. I don't know how long the stream was dead there, but the worst room in the game went pretty well. It was an ice puzzle room. I had to wait a while for one of the Dark Knights to walk far enough downward for me to get it across the middle bridge, but after that, everything cooperated. So, with that, we'll proceed with this cave. We are going through this cave for the purpose of collecting the Excalibur, the holy sword, as it were, of this holy sword quest. If you were paying very close attention, you may have noticed that I took a level up in will, not wisdom. Will is the stat that increases the pace that your meter at the bottom of the screen goes up. And as a secondary whenever you select a will level, you also get some wisdom. So it's better for a mage. It's better experience to a mage to select a will level up than for a fighter to do the same. Okay. And we're close to the end of this little dungeon here. There's another ice room, but it's not nearly as bad as the other ice rooms. Need another key. I have to bring one up, and then I'll grab one from this pack. I think ice works on these guys. I'm about to need ice in the next area, so I figured I would just equip that. I'm gonna save before I get Moogled instead of after. Saw that one coming. Oh yeah, keeping balanced stats. I'm pretty sure my first playthrough of this game did the same. I'm going to go for a cute little trick here. Doesn't always work. Did not work this time. Okay. Okay. Sometimes you can get the... Sometimes the snowman scooting across will trigger that button. This time it didn't. I'm going to abuse a glitch in this game here where by holding the ice sword, this ice weak enemy is going to take bonus damage from my lit spell. You have to hit the head of this enemy. This includes when it's in its fireball form. Only the bottom two squares of it, the bottom center two squares of it are actually vulnerable. There we go. And that wasn't Ifrit. It wasn't an Efreet. It wasn't even a Jinn. It was... Iflight. Thank you, translators. I don't like this arrangement at all. Okay, there we go. Got past those enemies. I have a bit of a distance here to run before there's the next float rock, so I'll go ahead and hop on the chocobo. You can get through this area just with Mattocks. Amusingly, the Adventures of Mana remake of this game has such a slow Morningstar swinging animation that it's better to just stock up on a billion Mattocks and use those instead. Oh, wow, that's dedication right there. Getting soft blocked there by not having enough Mattocks. There's a number of ways you can soft block in this game. Most common is by, like, partway doing a puzzle that removes a barrier. And then, saving and reloading. And that causes the barrier to reappear. And depending on where you're standing, you might be stuck in a wall. Oh, right. I just leveled up, so I don't have to do that. Although I did just level up, which is... I prefer to level up immediately after the Lich fight rather than immediately before. It's not terrible. It'll be okay. It's just my resources are going to be slightly tighter than I might prefer going through the ancient ruins. My next target is the... Dark Lich, which is guarding the nuke spell. I could actually have gone there immediately if I wanted to. And that would seem to make sense. It is the most powerful spell, and I'm a mage. Wouldn't I want to get that as soon as possible? Well, not really. Turns out most of the enemies, it's either impractical or they're just immune to nuke. Plus it costs 3 MP instead of 2, so I'm not using it against normal enemies whenever they die in one shot to lit anyway. So it winds up just being a slower lich fight because I have less levels going into the fight. Is kind of the only real difference between getting it sooner versus later. It's still about the same number of world map squares you have to traverse either way. These enemies are worth gloriously gigantic amounts of experience, so I do not mind clearing a full spawn room of them. Okay, the skulls from Lich here will one-shot me, so I need to take this guy seriously. At this point, I'm going to, for a little bit, stop attacking to let my meter fill. And one more hit and he should be dead. Okay. The movement there is very similar to Megapede, and just like Megapede, the second path he takes through the room is offset just a little bit. But because his sprite is so big and so, like, off-center, it, like, leans downward a lot. The second swoop through the room that he makes is a lot harder to dodge than the first. So my solution winds up being to charge for a quadruple damage attack during that phase, rather than continuing with the rapid fire. Crap. I do appreciate that the projectile that the mirror enemies shoot at you is an image of you being injured. And then if it connects with you, it becomes reality. These robots are no joke, and this is more of them spawning in relevant positions than is normal. They are just strong enough to two-shot me. Oh, wait a minute. That was not how I was supposed to get through that. Picking up the dragon sword here, this will allow me to deal bonus damage to the dragon-type enemies I'll be fighting in the final dungeon, which is coming up pretty soon, by the way. The damage from the I Spy enemies is not meaningful anymore. But I still want to respect them. Because they could turn me into a Moogle, which is still a very scary status effect. I would like to enter the upcoming boss fight with a full will meter, and I have succeeded in doing so. So, the bar on the bottom of the screen, I call it the will meter. I think the official documentation for the game calls it the max gauge. When it is full, your weapons have a special animation, and your spells do quadruple damage. As it fills, you deal more damage. So if it's 99% full, you do 99% bonus damage. The magic just gets an extra doubling tacked on if it's all the way full, whereas weapons get a special animation on their attacks. Like with the axe, you throw it. With the sword, you can either do a spinning attack or an attack where you fly across the screen. A lot of good things there. This is Mantis Ant. He continues the tradition of this game where just after you've gotten a new spell, that spell doesn't work on the next boss. It's kind of the opposite of typical video game logic, where they usually are trying to make you feel good about having gotten the thing that you just got. Nah. Chocobo's not worth hunting down, so I'll just leave him in the north side of the desert. If he's right next to me, I'll go ahead and hop on. But I'm not running to the left side of the room just so I can go through the desert a tiny bit faster. So we're about to meet the by far best party member of the game. Lots of cool features. The best one is that Marcy talks very fast. In the Japanese version of the game, that's how fast everyone talks. But in this version, only Marcy does. Also, Marcy's lasers are pretty effective. They're generally likely to actually kill enemies, which is a nice plus. Not often the case with the NPCs that I expect them to really do much of anything. Also, the ask command fully restores my NP. This is in a phase of the game where I'm faced with lots of high experience value enemies, and the only sensible spell for me to use to kill them costs 3 MP, and it's pretty awkward. But I get full MP anytime I want, and it takes like no time to do it because Marcy talks fast. I've done all my will levels. I intend to get 2 more levels over the course of the run. 1 more before I leave this dungeon. And then 1 in the final dungeon, once I want to MP restore. Marcy has all sorts of other cool features too, like she's got jump jets. I'm going to make a very brief detour here in order to pick up this armor. It's a pretty substantial upgrade and makes the final dungeon a little bit easier than it otherwise would. And I need a battle axe for my next weapon. Okay, at this point, I want to kill 8 more enemies. Whoops. This will set me up where I'm about to get a level, so I can use a level up to restore my MP in the final dungeon, rather than having to get even more. Oh, there we go. Rather than having to get even more MP restoration items than I already have. I've picked up 2 elixirs. Having to pick up a 3rd would suck. That's good enough. I'll be able to get a level in the final dungeon. I'm not, like, right next to it like I'd like to be. This is Garuda. Reference was made to this guy before. Garuda transported the pendant from Davius to Glaive before, and now Garuda is guarding the approach to Glaive. Each time Garuda sets up in one of the corners, it's able to fire feathers up to 2 times. So you'll notice I'm kind of moving in little sets. That way, if both sets of feathers get released, I'm not trapped in the corner and having to move into the spot where Garuda's about to swoop. So here we are. Thankfully, Marcy's got this covered. Marcy's going to throw us over and then use those awesome jump jets that are among the many awesome features that Marcy has in order to get across as well. Another one of Marcy's awesome features is that she's able to lie. So, yeah, essentially Marcy calculates that main character would likely have delayed too long if you knew that going across that gap was going to leave Marcy behind. So Marcy just lied. Once again, the game continues to be a little dark, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. We are at the Tower of Gemma now. Final dungeon. There's 3 bosses in here, and then there's a final boss, which is a gauntlet of 3 forms of a boss. The ninjas here are jerks. They have directional shields. They have shurikens that deal like 90-ish damage. Look at my current HP and tell me how that makes me feel. And guess how that makes me feel, I guess I should say. They also have the instant teleport action. Not a whole lot of enemies have that, but towards the end of the game, they really ramp it up. You saw a slow teleport from one of the enemies there. I like slow teleports. It tells you where the enemy's going to be, and then you have time to react to it. Instant teleport, they literally are just instantaneously somewhere else. And that place could well be on top of you, dealing you damage. Okay, so this is a dragon. Because I'm holding a dragon sword, my nuke spell is going to deal extra damage if I hit with it. Whoops! Wow, that was embarrassing. So the weird thing about the dragon is that the part of him that is vulnerable is not his head. It's his feet in front of his head. That's where you need to target. I am actually in the danger zone for shurikens, so I am going to go ahead and cure as I step onto this teleporter. If you need to cure, it's a little bit better to do so as you're stepping onto an event tile that'll teleport you somewhere else. That way the animation kind of gets canceled. Second to last key here. There's that instant teleport I was complaining about. Oh wait, no. I don't want to do that. I still need the dragon sword, so I'm going to use the Mattock. Those ninjas can do that too. Because the ninjas can also jump, it's less common for the ninjas to do the instant teleport, but the fiends' heads do it a lot. Upcoming ice room, not nearly as bad as the others. If I get lucky, I may only need to send 1 ice rocket out. I did not get lucky. Essentially, if that first Minotaur decides to hide itself in the lower right corner, then I don't have to worry about it. Here's another dragon. This game is usually pretty good about not resorting to palette swaps for enemies, but this time it does. This is the Game Boy, so I can hit a button to revert to the default color scheme, which, as it turns out, is like this orange thing. When the dragons hit the top of the screen, they have an opportunity, if they want to turn around. Alright, red dragon done. See? Red dragon. It's the same boss, except with higher stats. Its fire breath is still meaninglessly weak. Trying to manage my MP here. I think I saw I have another X-Cure lying around. These Fiend Heads are worth a weirdly small amount of experience compared to other enemies in the area. So to the extent that I can, I want to wait until there's some higher value enemies that can be killed for less MP, such as these enemies here, if they'll cooperate. Yar. I am presently disrespecting a shuriken, so I am going to do frequent safety saves. Last key. I may have to turn to an ether to get my level up, unfortunately. Yeah. Gonna have to cure here. Okay, well, unfortunate. I'm pretty sure I'm like 1 kill away from a level up. I'll go ahead and use Nuke since I did have to use an ether anyway. Yep. It's possible the Fiend Head would have pushed me over anyway, but just playing it safe because I am on a marathon run. So that's the last level up I plan on getting. Final ice room here. Amusingly, the ninjas can be iced. They can also be trolls. Come on, man. Okay, finally at a spot that I can use. If you're not sure which button is the correct one here, just walk around the room. The game lags when you step on the correct button. Even though it doesn't open it, you need to use the snowman. This dragon's a lot more stressful than the other ones. The fire breath from this dragon is actually really strong. It's like 80-ish damage to me with my current setup. Contact damage with him is also pretty brutal. I was kind of pushing it with that one. I wasn't sure if I actually had enough time to get that shot off. My nuke will intercept enemy projectiles. But if I guess wrong, I take a hit, and as I mentioned, this guy hits hard. This guy's supposed to be weak against the Holy Element, which, by the way, the nuke spell actually is the Holy Element in this game. Unfortunately, it's looking at the elements of my weapon, not the elements of my spell, in terms of deciding whether I get bonus damage or not, so I miss out on that one, thanks to that glitch. And he does not count as a dragon, even though it calls it a zombie dragon. I'm just gonna heal my way through this. Here are the elephants that you farm a lot of if you are doing a any percent out of bounds run of this game. So I'm now getting a new weapon. It's the Excalibur. Well, actually, no. It's the capital X, capital C, lowercase ALIBR. That, with a weapon with a name that silly, it can't possibly be worth using. I'm not equipping it. Okay. And we are now on to the final gauntlet of boss fights. The first of these is actually the hardest. It might turn out to be trivial, but I doubt it. So Julius here, he's going to split into 3 clones. And each of these clones behaves as a normal enemy. And since it's a normal enemy instead of a boss, it moves very, very, very randomly. Contact damage with the Julius clones really hurts. And by the way, this is going spectacularly so far. The Julius clones do tend to do instant teleports pretty frequently. I whiffed that shot. That's unfortunate. Fully charged nuke with my current stats will always one-shot. Unfortunately, he moves really fast, so he's pretty likely to dodge out of the way of my stuff every time. When I kill the final Julius clone, it's important. Come on! It's really important that I'm not in the upper right section of the screen. He has a directional shield in the direction he's facing. But it's still worth shooting him, even if he's facing you, because he turns so frequently, he's just as likely to take the hit, in that case, as whenever he seems to be facing away. But we are now through with that. It's now time for Julius 2. The lightning bolts are actually strong enough, depending on damage rolls, to one-shot me. His dive kicks won't one-shot me, but it's like 100 damage. Thankfully, though, he's got a lot of rules to his movement. It follows a lot of the rules of the golem fight, if you remember that from a long time ago. If he's in the middle heading right, he actually can't dive kick. Generally speaking, when he's on the sides, I want him to dive kick. Annoyingly, he can also dive kick diagonally. Dive kicking straight down is the best. But if he goes diagonal like that... Oh, whoops. I thought I'd hit his foot there. Would have worked if I was on the other side of him. Because it's always the foot on his right side as we're looking at him is always the one he goes with. Sticking out. Okay, that's Julius 2. Now, this is the final form of the final boss. Time will be once it moves to the second part of the final boss explosion. Until then, I can actually die, and a double KO is a loss in this game. So, the spawn positions for Julius here are arbitrary, but they are not random. So as long as you remember the order in which he does his things, and you remember the way in which you can walk in order to not take damage from each of them and have an opportunity to land a nuke, nothing should ever hurt you here. The one thing that's kind of annoying is that his explosion will one-shot me. Also, his jazz hands, if I forget where he's spawning, the jazz hands will kill me. So the reason I walked right there is that if I got exceptionally good RNG, he would have died, and the explosion would have gotten there. That's time. Time now. Okay. So that is playing the game as a mage. A lot of things went generally not great. I don't have the stream up. I do have chat up though. So if someone in chat can indicate what my time was, that would be great. Because I actually did not have a timer running alongside. 2:08:13. That's on par with what I've been getting for my marathon practice. I've had some runs that were like 2:03, 2:05. World record for reference is like 1:57 something, currently held by Bowie the Hero, and it actually does physical attack build, not magic. It's interesting. Oh, right, we had to just stop because of that. And I also had a few deaths too, so a lot of things went not great. But it is interesting that two totally different approaches to the game that managed resources totally differently and engaged with bosses and normal enemies totally differently wind up so close in terms of the final time. Now, one thing to remember, I am playing on the Super Game Boy here, and the Super Game Boy does run 2% too fast. So that amounts to everything. The game runs too fast, the music has too fast of a tempo, and the pitch of the sound of the music is actually 2% too high too. If you've played the game a lot, you can notice that. Anyway, that does it for me. From here on out, it's just credits. I will let them roll for as long as it takes for things to start transitioning to the next game. But if you want to follow me, follow my Twitch. It has just been linked into chat there. I speedrun a bunch of games. I casually play a bunch of RPGs, a bunch of strategy games, that sort of thing. So if you like that, if you like my commentary style, I do this not just for marathon runs. Anytime I'm streaming, I try to provide this level of detail on what it is I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So give me a follow if you want to. I usually stream most Sundays, afternoon US time. Take care. Goodbye.